Mom is in a coma, leaving her boy starving. He's shocked when he finds his lunchbox full every day. Poor schoolboy whose single mom was in a coma hid his empty lunchbox daily, pretending he was not hungry. But when he unexpectedly found it filled with food every day, he decided to find out who was behind it. Every morning, Steve begged his granny not to send him to school with an empty lunchbox. "I'm tired of pretending I'm not hungry when I actually am," the 10-year-old said. "It's better I don't go to school because someone's playing pranks with me by hiding food in my empty lunchbox. I'm not sure who's doing it." Steve went to school daily carrying his backpack and no food. None of his classmates knew he didn't have any food to eat because he was always pretending he wasn't hungry. However, the boy often found his empty lunchbox filled with good food whenever he returned to class. One day, he decided to find out who was doing it, and it started when the truth came to light. "Hey, look, the lonely kid in our class," Steve heard someone say as he marched across the hallway after lunch. "Why doesn't he eat lunch with us?" "What is it, Granny? What happened to Mom?" the boy gasped in tears. "I'm scared. Is she all right? Tell me what happened." Steve was used to hearing these remarks, and that's why he had begged his granny not to send him to school until their financial condition improved. Steve's mom, Victoria, had met with an accident 3 months ago on her way back home from work. Although she survived, she'd been in a coma since the tragedy. To make things worse, the loan she and her mom, Edith, had taken made it difficult for them to afford necessities. So Steve was sent to school with no lunch and only ate breakfast and dinner. "Not again. I'm fed up seeing my empty lunchbox, Grandma," Steve cried. "Do I have to take one when there's no use for it? I could save some space in my bag than carrying that empty thing." Edith was crushed having to do this each day. She didn't want the other kids to mock Steve, saying he had no food to eat. "Just for a few more days, sweetheart. I promise I'll make something nice for you when you come home." Edith had planned to borrow money from her neighbor to buy some groceries and cook a nice dinner for her grandson. "And did you find out who hides food in your lunchbox?" "Not yet, Grandma, but I'll try to find out today." With a broken heart full of hopes, the little boy went to his school. Soon it was lunchtime, as the other kids took out their lunchboxes and ganged up to enjoy their meal. Steve took his lunchbox and hid it under the desk. "I'll go for a walk and sit at the grotto," he mumbled, but he intended to return before the bell rang to see who had been putting food in his lunchbox. The Virgin Mary Grotto in the school was Steve's favorite spot during lunch break. He'd sit there and pray for his family's condition to improve. That day, he did the same thing. "Please, Holy Mother, help us. I don't want to pretend anymore. I'm hungry and I want to find out today who's been putting food in my lunchbox." All of a sudden, it started raining. Steve rushed to his class to avoid getting drenched. He ran to the classroom and saw his classmates still eating. There was still a lot of time left before the break was over. He marched to his bench and reached out to his lunchbox to check it. Again, he felt something inside. "It was empty when I left it a while ago," he muttered. Curious, Steve opened the box and was stunned to see 3 sandwiches, an orange, grapes, and dry fruits. "How did these get in here? Who put them here? Should I eat it?" He looked around to see which kid was eating a sandwich. That's when he saw Catherine, his only good friend in class, eating a similar sandwich on a bench behind him. "What's going on?" Steve said. "Did you do this?" He turned around and saw Gareth, a classmate, eating grapes. Both children smiled at Steve, and he realized that it was their doing. The boy became teary-eyed as he sat in silence. His friends approached him to cheer him up. Well, it was here that Steve began to regain his confidence. "Why are you crying? We just wanted you to be happy because we know your mom's condition," Catherine said. "I'll bring lunch for you every day. You don't have to pretend to be hungry anymore." "Me too. I'll keep bringing you fruits and juice," Gareth said. Meanwhile, the entire class approached Steve and said they'd support him until his mom recovered. The boy couldn't believe his eyes and was delighted to see them lend a helping hand. Then he looked at Catherine and asked her how she did all this, to which the girl revealed something more surprising. "My father likes your mom very much. It was he who advised me to share my lunch with you, so I convinced the whole class to help." "It's weird, but why does your father want to help us? And what do you mean by he likes my mother?" But Catherine had no answers to Steve's questions. "I don't know, but he told me he likes your mother." Bewildered, Steve let things slide for a while. He was happy to get help from his classmates and friends, but something about what Catherine said bothered him. One evening, Catherine's dad, Joel, visited Steve and his granny in their home. "If you want anything else, please don't hesitate to ask," Joel said, handing them some groceries and clothes. Steve was confused by the man's sudden interest in his family. He waited for the right chance and ran outside to talk to Joel before he could leave in his car. "Mr. Joel, wait up, I need a minute with you," the boy said, panting. "What is it, son?" "What's this about?" "Catherine said you told her that you like my mother. Is this true?" A few moments of silence persisted. Joel didn't want to tell the boy anything, but now he felt it was important for him to know. "I don't just like your mother. I love her," he said, smiling, driving past the confused boy. Steve angrily stormed to his granny and told her what Joel had just said. But Granny Edith hugged him, to his surprise, saying he should feel blessed to get a good father like Joel. "Granny, but he's my friend's father. How can he be my father?" That's when Steve heard the unthinkable. It turned out that Joel and Victoria were good friends in high school. Although Joel had a one-sided feelings for Victoria, he never expressed them. As a twist of fate, she married another man and had a child with him, but things headed in a different direction when Steve's dad left his mother and never returned. Meanwhile, Joel married a woman and had a daughter with her. His wife had died due to an illness, and he'd remained single since then. When he spotted Victoria at a parent-teacher meeting 3 months ago and learned of her past, he decided to rekindle their friendship. But due to Victoria's coma after the accident, Joel decided to take things slowly until she recovered. When he learned of her family's financial crisis, he made it his mission to help them. Steve now knew the truth and was dealing with his emotions. 2 weeks later, Steve's granny got a call from the hospital. "Are you serious?" "Oh God, is this true? It can't be," she cried. "What, Granny? What happened to Mom?" The boy gasped in tears. "I'm scared. Is she all right? Tell me what happened." When they arrived at the hospital, the doctor met them with a piece of news that made Edith burst into tears. "It's a miracle. Victoria's conscious now. You can go see her." Edith and Steve were thrilled to see Victoria move and talk after 3 long months. "Mom, I really missed you. I love you," Steve cried in her arms. Victoria was discharged the next day after Joel offered to settle her hospital bills. She later learned of how he supported her family in her absence. Slowly, Victoria began seeing Joel as more than her friend. The two began dating and shortly after married in an intimate ceremony in the church. Steve was happy to see their condition improve in such a short time. He remembered his prayer in front of the school's grotto. He immediately went there with Catherine and silently cried in front of the Virgin Mary. "Thank you, Holy Mother," he sobbed, lighting a candle as his best friend and now stepsister, Catherine, hugged him. "Let's go home, brother," she said, and the two walked together to their house. Good deeds make the world a better place to live. When Joel learned about his best friend Victoria's family and their poverty after she went into a coma, he decided to help them. He asked his daughter Catherine to share her lunch with Victoria's son Steve and did his best to make the boy's family feel comfortable. Another miracle happened. A baby born to a woman in a coma last week has gone home, but his mother will remain in the hospital as his father tackles the challenges of parenthood alone. It was exciting to see him in his car seat for the first time and to finally take him home, the baby's father, Brian Land, wrote on Facebook. "Of course, now I'm on my own with West. No longer is there a battalion of nurses, push of a button away to soothe West's cries or nerves." Land wrote that he took baby West on a tour of his SoCal, California home, and then the two dozed off. Melissa Carlton, age 39, became comatose in March after suffering a seizure caused by a benign brain tumor. Her father, John Farrell, told ABC News. Although she's been hospitalized and unable to speak since she was 26 weeks pregnant, she carried her baby boy to full term and delivered him by C-section March 22nd in San Francisco. Carlton had wanted to wait until the baby was born to undergo surgery to remove the tumor, but her health deteriorated too quickly, Land told ABC affiliate KFSN TV in March. She struggled to walk from the hospital parking lot to its doors, stopping frequently to rest on the ground. The following morning, Carlton had a seizure that damaged part of her brain and prompted doctors to perform emergency surgery to remove the tumor, Land said. Although Carlton is in a coma, she's able to open her eyes and squeeze her family members' hands, Farrell told ABC News. The morning of the C-section, she was the most conscious Farrell had seen her in weeks. In a few tender moments, she reached out to Brian, took his cheek, pulled his cheek down to her face, and held it there, Farrell said. It was the first time she'd hugged Brian since this trauma happened. Land wrote to Facebook supporters that he had sat alone with his wife at a few evenings after West's birth to talk about the hug. I told Melissa how much I missed her and how much her empathetic touch had meant to me. He wrote. Melissa opened her eyes again, looked at me, and puckered for a kiss. I couldn't help but kiss her and cry. Once Carlton recovers from surgery, she'll be moved to a rehabilitation facility where doctors hope she'll come out of her comatose state, according to KFSN TV.